Now to move over to the Division III side of things, the man himself, Jimmy Martin's back. What's up, dude?
How we doing, everybody? How we doing?
Excited to be back here, dude. We've got quite the mix-up on the D3 side of things. Here's the bracket, at least the Sweet 16, if you will, the teams remaining. And you and I talked about it a little bit. The game picks maybe for the first round, not the craziest, most difficult things to predict. With that being said, did have some maybe 2 or 3 games that kind of came really down to the wire. Had a couple, I guess, technical upsets there. But I think, would you agree with me? Most things shook out how we expected in round 1.
Yeah. You go back and look at our show from last week. We picked
Yeah.
13 out of 16 correctly. I
There you
did
go.
say on the show it's going to be a lot of chalk,
Yeah.
and that kind of followed the course this week. A lot of nothing really shocked us this week. A lot of thrilling games. Cortland Endicott was one of those games we were going to talk about. Obviously, we had kind of talked about how Cortland is kind of like ending the Cinderella seasons, if you
Yeah.
will. Like Endicott kind of came
Yep.
out of nowhere this year, like kind of a feel good story. And they won that one 23-17, kind of a barn burner, as we saw there.
And they
But,
never trailed in that game. That's what we talked about with Zach earlier, man.
Mhm.
Even though that game was so competitive, they literally never were on the back end of that game, which is weird in a contest like that on the road too. So that's a huge win for them.
Yeah, no, certainly a huge one.
Yeah, I mean, look around the rest of the
Talk
bracket.
about,
Most of the top seeds obviously took care of business. La Crosse and Mount Union just freaking handled, as well as like teams like North Central, like who is probably pissed off right now about their seeding. But we get into round 2, we're gonna have some good ones. But let's not worry about round 2 yet. Let's talk about some of those round 1 matchups. Who do you want to start with?
I think a pretty big one was Aurora and Co. 20-7. Obviously, Aurora's defense is what really stood out to me this week, and I think in order for them to beat La Crosse this week, they're gonna have to have that same fire on the defensive side of the ball. Being that La Crosse is a really, really efficient offense. I think obviously a huge part of that is Kaiser Helterbrand, who went 13 of 14 last week for 175 yards and 4 touchdowns. So Aurora is definitely going to have to bring that defense next week in their matchup with Wisconsin La Crosse. But no, I think this was a game where we kind of talked about last week was going to be kind of a close game, but like we kind of knew Aurora was probably going to like take this one. And obviously Co put up a pretty good fight, but I mean, holding Aurora to 20 points is pretty impressive. Aurora's been running up the scoreboard all year. So maybe a little bit surprising that it was pretty low scoring, but about to be expected, about a 13-point margin of victory for Aurora in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd be interested, because obviously you don't know unless you're really there about how this game really felt. Kind of get that like game sense of kind of the way things were going on. But like you kind of talked about, this Aurora team feels like their MO for the longest time has been, hey, we're going to light up the scoreboard and just outshoot you in one of those like classic shootout type contests. Good to see for them, the Spartans, I do believe, correct?
Yep.
Good to see for them that they can win a game like this, right? A game that is a little more back and forth maybe, and that they're going to face some adversity offensively, that they can rebound and win games like that. Co heading into this one, I mean, a 9-1 squad that had a lot of great success within their conference. Their only loss coming to a Wartburg team they lost to by 6 points. And when you look at this Co defense, they have not let more than... Outside of the Wheaton game, they hadn't let up more than 20 points to an opponent, and they let up 27 to Wheaton, who's one of the top seeds in the tournament this year. This co-defense is very impressive. I think there was a lot of things being said earlier in the week about how, I think the one quote was like how co is more battle-tested. I'm not sure who that came from, but the Aurora people, man, they found that one. They were using it as a little bit of fuel, and that circulated back after the win. But with that being said, against this co-college defense, dude, Aurora has a lot to be really excited about with this offense, and kind of like you alluded to, going into La Crosse this weekend, like they're going to need all of that and maybe a little bit more, huh?
Yeah, and we kind of saw on the Hansen ratings. So this week, La Crosse is -4.5 against Aurora,
Which is surprisingly low, I will say.
Yeah, and that over/under is sitting at 62.5. Given
Holy
that Aurora,
shit.
so Aurora only gave up 7 points last week.
Yeah.
And they're still expecting La Crosse to score more than 30 points. So, and
That's
this guy's pretty scary accurate. Like he
Yeah.
has some really good spreads, and if you look at it, they're pretty week to week. He nails them on the head pretty well. So
Yeah, I mean, because obviously he's not sitting there and he's not like, someone at a desk saying, I think they'll win by this much, right? He's got all these metrics, analytics, and all these things that just calculate and spit this stuff out. But like you said, when you look at football and that kind of through that lens analytically, it's scary sometimes how accurate it can be. But then you have the flip side where like sometimes it doesn't mean anything, right? Going into a game like that.
No. Yeah, absolutely. kind of shifting gears here a little bit. Kind of a game I wanted to talk about due to I believe, the best performance of the week. Wheaton getting the W 41-34 last week. Giovanni Weeks, who we spoke about a little bit last week, ran for 256 yards and 4 touchdowns.
That is massive.
Playoff Geo. Maybe they could start running
I like that. I like that.
Well, hey, dude, if this kid, man, oh man, like obviously their only loss this year was to North Central. So this Wheaton team is pretty darn good. And I think they could definitely maybe challenge Whitewater a little bit more than people think this week. It's a 16-point spread against the Warhawks.
Man.
That's a big spread to cover for Whitewater. And obviously Whitewater is a hell of a team. Another kind of thing I thought was interesting, the over-under sitting at 65.5.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight this play, and we had put it out on our Twitter, but the interception here, originally thought it was a freshman. I think they had a jersey mix-up over there at Wheaton, but Gage Autry, I do believe, is the correct name, so we got it wrong in the tweet because the announcer, I think, was fooled as well. But he comes up with this pick in the fourth quarter. MSJ's driving down the field, right? And you're at a one-score game. They're down by 7 with 6 minutes left in the fourth. And it felt like Wheaton had just gone down and scored before this. I was actually tuning into this one. And it felt like at this time, they're in the red zone. They've been converting all day. Like, what's going to stop them from getting another touchdown? Right there, batted ball up in the air. That interception, to me, felt like kind of sealed the deal for this Wheaton offense / defense, I guess you can say. So that was a huge play. Wanted to highlight that one for sure.
Yeah, anytime you can generate a big play, like a turnover like that, it can be a huge momentum shift for a team, and we saw that this week. So
yeah, absolutely. And then, as we just go through this, their next round matchup, Whitworth, who actually had a really competitive game this last week, but one that I don't think we've talked about really a whole lot. I mean, is that going to be as expected for you in the round 2, you think? Not without doing any picks or anything, we're just kind of, giving the lay of the land.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. I don't know, man. But
Whitworth's undefeated this year. Now, the NWC, not a lot of potentially great football in there. They do have the one quality win at Linfield, which is probably, I would say, their statement win on the year, getting a win on the road over there. And then their win over Chapman in the first round of the playoffs definitely is up there as well. But their strength of schedule, I think, has probably been the reason they've been left out of the conversation. But when you pick up your last 2 wins, actually, Linfield was their season closer in the last game of the conference play as well. You win at Linfield and you win against Chapman in the first round. And this Wartburg team is very talented, but at least Whitworth's got some good momentum with them heading into that.
Yeah. I got to go with Wartburg in this one, man. I know we weren't really supposed to do picks, but I mean, Wartburg is a really, really, really good football team. That defense is stellar, and I think Whitworth's going to have a hard time scoring points this week, personally. I mean, again, I could be wrong. I missed 3 picks last week out of the 16, so I'm not perfect. I don't have
It's not perfect. No crystal ball.
Yeah, crystal ball. Yeah. Thanks, Kobe. But yeah, man, I just believe in this Wartburg team a lot. That defense is just it's a stone wall, if you will.
That front seven has made a lot of noise this year. They've gotten a lot of accolades, a lot of recognition for some of the other press outlets and news outlets, those kind of things. But where do you want to go next?
I was gonna kind of highlight the Johns Hopkins game, winning 62-20. That was a statement win in the first round for Johns Hopkins, and that was due to Spencer Ugla with 229 yards of offense. Yeah, ran for 216 and had 13 receiving yards as well, but didn't get in the end zone. Come on, Spencer, dude. You gotta come on, dude. Get in the end zone. But no, 200 plus yards of offense especially on the ground. Running for 200 plus yards in a playoff game. That's got to be one of the best performances in that school's history. Then, obviously they have Union this week, who's tough. I did not pick Union to win last week, and they proved me wrong. So
that was one of the 3 blemishes on the record, huh?
That was one of those 3 where I underestimated Union last week. They won 24-16 over Del Val. Pretty good win for them. But this Johns Hopkins team is tough, man. They're looking to get into a Final Four situation. If they win this week and then they win next week, they're right there ready to play. Most likely Mountain Union in that bracket game. But
and I think that's the expectation for them, right? Like as being a top seed in the region, right? You knew that first round was going to shake out that way. Now is when it really starts to get interesting. And you talked about it a little bit, dude. They dominated on the ground, 439 rushing yards. They didn't even let up 100 defensively. That to me feels like a very big indication of kind of what was going on over there. 783 yards of total offense for the Jays, dude.
Holy
Hello.
cats.
Hello. We've seen that offense, has been pretty solid all year. I don't think we've seen a whole lot of performances like that from them so far. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep that up against maybe a little bit more quality opponents here these next couple phases of the playoffs.
Yep.
8 for 12 on third down, 2 for 2 on fourth.
8 for 12 on third down is something else, man. That's quite a stat right there.
Yeah, that's insane. 10 for 14 on third and fourth combined. Wow.
Yeah, and then obviously the winner of the Johns Hopkins game in Union will play the winner of the Ithaca Randolph-Macon game. I think that's this Ithaca Randolph game. I think is going to be like the best game of the week. It'll be like the closest game, most evenly matched game.
I can see that.
Yeah. What's interesting is Randolph-Macon is an 8.5-point favorite over Ithaca.
8.5 using the Hanson.
Yeah, which is a bigger spread than the La Crosse and Aurora game, which I thought was kind of
that's actually insane.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming, having a bigger spread than the La Crosse Aurora game. But no, that's definitely the game I'm gonna have my eye on. I'm gonna stamp that as the pre-game of the week, like before the season starts here, because we always have our games of the week before, and then obviously after we pick the actual game of the week. But yeah,
how about that one, the Texas Showdown? Now we haven't talked about a little bit too much yet. That Trinity Hardin-Simmons game. I was very curious to see how that shook out. I do believe Trinity was probably the favorite in that one. I don't know what the technical spread was. I do believe they were probably the favorite, obviously, hosting that one. But this Hardin-Simmons team, we've talked about, their window, and it felt like this was very much their year. Talking with Galen Glenn just a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, their season comes to an end against, let's be honest, was a very quality Trinity team that might be able to give North Central a little bit of a match this weekend.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know if we should jump to
talk about the Hardin-Simmons games first, though, brother.
No, but Hardin-Simmons, man, they battled. I mean, they obviously they lost by 14 points, but I mean, they kept it close, 20-6. Defense played well. Obviously when you score 6 points, you're not going to put yourself in position to win too often. Yeah, unfortunately, but still tipped the cap, had a great year, won the conference, but that's another one of those games where I picked Hardin-Simmons to win that one. So, Trinity proved me wrong. So tip the cap over to them. The Battle of Texas, so they claim Texas, I guess. I guess they got it this year. I guess they got it this year. Different conferences, but same state.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. No, that's a good point. And you look at some of the stat breakdowns from this one, and I think the biggest thing for me is that Hardin-Simmons couldn't get anything going on the ground, dude. They finished with negative yardage rushing wise, and yeah, part of that is because of like some sacks and other things. Yeah. That happened, obviously, the way that is counted up, which if we can see, it doesn't say on here. I don't believe that I can't see that. But, something for me, that Hardin-Simmons backfield, they've had like 2 or 3 guys, like a rotating stable in there, and all of them have kind of been really productive down there for the Cowboys. That seemed to definitely show up in the scouting report for Trinity. That front seven got after him and made a big impact there. And I think when you break that down, I don't think their passing game is quite efficient enough to claw their way back into a game like that. I don't think it's the way that the team is structured over there at Hardin-Simmons. So kudos to Trinity for maybe identifying that and knocking that out early. They didn't even have a first down rushing the ball. Hardin-Simmons did not on the game.
I mean, you got to tip the cap to the coaching staff on that scheme too.
That's
also,
tough.
I mean, that's good football right there by Trinity.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I guess on the other side of that, we can briefly mention North Central, who had Bellhaven in that first round draw. That was ugly, huh?
65 zip.
God, dude, that's playoffs.
That's brutal, dude.
That hurts a little bit.
If we're going to the Lennon counter, if you will, now he threw 3 touchdowns, but he had 5 incompletions.
The Lennon counter.
So now he's lost a little bit of leverage in that.
Okay.
In that department. So I mean,
he said 3 tuds to 5 incompletions.
Yeah, he's got to be more efficient.
So a shitty day at the office if you're Luke Lennon.
Horrible. Yeah,
that's insane.
65-point victory and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
it's not
shitty
enough.
day.
Not enough.
No. But that just shows, like, we joke, but that shows how high the ceiling and the expectations are over there. I think is ridiculous from them. Also, they're pissed off because they're not even the top seed in their region, which is going to be very interesting down the stretch here. Huh?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that spread will be for that.
Yep.
That if La Crosse wins that game, I should say. But I mean, even if they play Aurora, like the spread will be a little bit bigger if it's Aurora. But I mean, I think it'll still be double digits. Remarkably enough, I really do. I think the Hanson ratings have a lot of respect for the WIAC, but North Central is far and beyond, in Logan Hanson's opinion, the best team in Division III. I think he has them at like a 49% chance to win the whole tournament outright already.
Really?
So yeah, there's like a calculator that has like to win this week, next week, round of 4, and then round of 2, obviously, which is the championship. It has like percentages for each team to win that. They're only giving lacrosse and the Whitewater 1% each, respectively, to win the national
Yeah.
championship, which I think is pretty good value, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
but North Central being the heavy favorite, and deservingly so. I mean, they seem to be a machine, and the fact they're not a 1 seed, given that they've won 26 games in a row now, is it's pretty wild to me.
I would agree with you there, 100%. And just like you talked about, the way that we've held them in the regard all year, and they've earned it too, right? I think is kind of a big deal about it. But let's go over and talk a little bit about this Grove City team. We talked about Cortland, which is their matchup they pulled in the second round, which they will have to go on the road for, which is a kind of a big deal because you look at Grove City's record versus Cortland. Grove City is currently undefeated on the year versus a Cortland team who lost to Susquehanna in a non-conference matchup towards the beginning of the season. That same squad that the Wolverines just took down, their first win in playoff history. We've got the game-winning play here that you saw if you follow us on the socials here. A little pitch and catch to the back of the end zone. Not only that, I mean, that's like a you got mossed type of candidate right there. Absolutely nuts grab. There was, when it's all said and done, 4 seconds left, you could see the two emotions on either sideline. What a day to be a Wolverine over there at Grove City, man.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why you play football right there. Making the game-winning catch, being that it was a miraculous catch as well. You know, anyone can just catch the ball if you're wide open, but that was like ridiculous. 21-20 victory, just an absolute nail biter, you know, and they needed to score a touchdown there too.
Yes.
So that makes it even more important, which was that's why you play right there, man.
Yeah. The Riverhawks, they try a little lateral right here, and just to try and keep the playoff hopes alive, and it just falls short at their place. So GCC gets to be the road warriors. This, again, I put them in a very similar kind of space, if you will, as Hardin-Simmons, because it feels like this is the year for them. And not to say that the next couple of years could not be great for both those respective squads, but when you talk about the windows in your respective conferences, UMHB is going to be back. They're going to rebound. It's going to be a great game again in 2024. Same with them. Carnegie Mellon is going to be very much back in that conference as far as the President's Athletic Conference is concerned. So if you're Grove City, obviously, this could be a stupid thing to say, Kobe, but you want to capitalize right now. And that's, I think Zach brought up a great point earlier, the quarterback from Cortland. He said, this is a very inexperienced team, but with that being said, they're going to be incredibly hungry because they have a taste of what winning in the playoffs looks like. And who are we to deny them from getting another one? So it's going to be a fun matchup, I think, this weekend. I'm excited to check that one out.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Cortland is a huge favorite in that game, 15-point favorites.
Which I don't, it's not very surprising to me. I would take Grove City on the spread in that. If I were in some case a betting man, I would take Grove City on the spread on that one.
Yeah, right. And then another spread I thought was kind of interesting. Alma getting kind of a lot of respect, honestly,
against Mount Union.
Mount Union is only this is just a respect to Mount Union as well. Only 19-point favorites.
Okay.
Against Alma. I mean, playing in the conference like that. I mean, Alma's solid team, but I mean, Mount Union is to put that into perspective. North Central is a 25-point favorite against Trinity.
Yeah, that's insane.
And Trinity is the number what? They were number 6. And Alma was ranked outside of the top 20, I want to say. So, and then being that Mount Union was number 2, and they're only, I don't know. That's kind of wild to me. I would have thought it would have been a little bit bigger of a spread, but hey, anything can happen any given Saturday also. So
absolutely. And I think you kind of touched on it, but it comes down to a little bit of the conference play, right? And strength of schedule. And Mount Union doesn't really boast anything too wild either. When you look at Alma, kind of their statement wins, outside of a pretty commanding win over DePaul in the first round, which I think was an impressive one. We talked about DePaul a lot last week. This is a team that had a lot of momentum. They just won a huge rivalry game against Wabash. And looking at Alma's schedule, though, I think their biggest statement win of the year, at least inside of conference play, was Hope College, who did finish with a decent record. But that game was huge on the road at Hope, who was receiving votes for the top 25 poll at the time. And then you go Albion College, a big win for them, and Adrian, some of those conference games. But outside of Hope, you don't have a ranked opponent on the schedule the entire year, and I think that maybe hurts you, but at the same time, they're undefeated, and they still have to suit it up, just like Mount Union does on Saturday. And I'm with you. I think this Mount Union team is very much held in that same caliber as the North Central, the Cardinals over there. We'll see. We'll see how Alma fares. On the road, the Scots, you can guarantee the kilts will be out no matter what the weather is over there.
Yeah.
Which is going to be, it's crazy, by the way. That's fucking ridiculous, the fact that they do that. And if you remember, we had Coach Couch on the show a while back, and we talked about, traditionally, you're wearing nothing under that son of a bitch. Like, under a kilt, there's no, typically, there's no way you're letting it hang out when it's, I don't know what the temperature is going to be like over there in Ohio, but damn.
Yeah, that's... oof. I don't know about that, man. I don't know if I can go commando if it's that cold.
I don't know.
That's just me, though. I'm not a Scot.
No. You just not cut like that, man.
No, I guess not.
Shoot. But I think that's the most of it, dude. Definitely a point I did want to touch on was that the Bethel season coming to an end. I don't think we actually talked about that. Whitewater, right? That might be the one that we were missing. Bethel, with their head coach retiring after this year, they just hauled in a ton of accolades as far as conference and region goes, put together a really great season. Shout out to the Royals, but they did run into the buzzsaw that was Wisconsin Whitewater, and it's feeling very likely that we'll get a Wartburg Whitewater regional final down there.
Yeah, and I think I did see this one coming on the show last week. You were saying that Bethel and Whitewater is going to be a great matchup, and that Kobe, not so fast. I think Whitewater is a little too good.
The Lee Corso on me. He loves that. He loves that line.
Yeah.
Not so fast.
42-14.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey.
That's Whitewater's defense for you, though. I mean,
it is.
Bethel to 14.
Which I don't think has been talked about enough. They've also been running the ball at a very good clip, which, obviously keeps the ball away from the opposing team's offense. That's huge. So, we'll see, man.
The whole thing is on the rock. So
yeah. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up, and, look for us maybe to have a little game day action here. We're figuring some things out on Saturday. Maybe see if we can't get something put together Saturday morning. Little live action. We'll see what's going on though. We'll see what's going on.
Yeah, we got to get like mascot heads to like when we make picks to like put on like Lee Court. So we got to get the crowd involved. We got to get rowdy.
We'll see. It'll be interesting. Obviously Thanksgiving break. Not a lot of people around. So that'll be interesting though. Like this weekend, obviously being break for all these college students. Like. What are these environments, these games going to suffer at all? Like, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Pretty legit, man. I think people are going to come back and watch that game.
Jimmy, you can't give that out, bro. I got to mute that.
Oh, sorry.
You're giving out too much info.
Sorry. My bad.
Hey, yeah, but now it's going to be muted. Now they don't know. Now they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, bro. I appreciate you. Great analysis. I think we covered just about all the big talking points. I'm excited to see what this weekend has in store for us, dude.
Yeah, sweet, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. See you, Jim.